The Philippine Rice Research Institute. For more than 30 years, PhilRice has been developing high-yielding rice varieties and cost-reducing technologies so that farmers can produce enough rice for Filipinos. With a fresh mission to improve the competitiveness of rice farmers and the country's rice industry, PhilRice advances a more profitable, resilient, and sustainable rice environment through responsive, balanced, and environmentally sound research, development, and extension initiatives. PhilRice is a chartered government corporate entity under the Department of Agriculture, with the guidance of its Board of Trustees and the leadership of an executive director, deputies, and management staff. The Institute helps farmers address
I chose Nagoya University Law Program because Nagoya University is one of the 7 imperial universities in Japan, and it's the only Japanese university that has an undergraduate level international law program.
Nagoya University is the only top university that provides English thought economics course in Japan.
I wanted to pursue something related to automotives and engineering, and I found that Nagoya University provides exactly what I was hoping to study.
I chose Nagoya University primarily because I believe it has one of the best international student support provided in Japan.
When it came time for university, I found that Japan had G30 programs which were offering education in English, and I found that Nagoya had a program in physics, so I chose to come here.
Class sizes are really small, so you can interact with many of the professors, and also Nagoya University is trying to enhance this program by having new facilities.
There were a lot of hands-on experiences that you could get learning at Nagoya University, so it's not just textbooks and reading theories and learning and calculating.
What I particularly love about my major is that it adopts an interdisciplinary approach, and we have the wide range of courses to take, from literature to film to history, and we are given a lot of support in pursuing whatever projects we want to do.
Because of Nagoya's central location, I was able to travel to quite a few places around Japan, and this allowed me to really absorb everything that Japan has to offer.
I love doing physically active activities in the campus, such as going to the gym and play badminton, so I can refreshen myself and integrate myself further and deeper into the community.
Doc Jasper,
Yes.
can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you're also loud and clear. So I think okay na yan. Standby na lang po. Okay, hi Neil.
How can I present my slides? Add new presentation?
Yan. Tingnan mo tong dito sa screen natin. Di ba? Yung sa taas po nyo, meron doon parang screen ng computer.
Oo. Okay.
I-click nyo yun mamaya pagka mag-share na kayo ng screen.
Okay.
You can
Ako
actually...
napindot ko na-access ko na. Okay.
Nag-ano kayo na yung sa screen, nag-try kayo. Try nga natin saglit habang may time.
Sure. Okay.
Please try. Okay. Yan na yan.
Okay, sige.
So, ano muna tayo? Off-grid muna saglit. Okay, sige. Thank you.
I chose Nagoya University Law Program because Nagoya University is one of the 7 imperial universities in Japan, and it's the only Japanese university that has an undergraduate level international law program.
Nagoya University is the only top university that provides English thought economics course in Japan.
I wanted to pursue something related to automotives and engineering, and I found that Nagoya University provides exactly what I was hoping to study.
I chose Nagoya University primarily because I believe it has one of the best international student support provided in Japan.
When it came time for university, I found that Japan had G30 programs which were offering education in English, and I found that Nagoya had a program in physics, so I chose to come here.
Class sizes are really small, so you can interact with many of the professors, and also Nagoya University is trying to enhance this program by having new facilities.
There were a lot of hands-on experiences that you could get learning at Nagoya University, so it's not just textbooks and reading theories and learning and calculating.
What I particularly love about my major is that it adopts an interdisciplinary approach, and we have the wide range of courses to take from literature to film to history, and we are given a lot of support in pursuing whatever projects we want to do.
Because of Nagoya's central location, I was able to travel to quite a few places around Japan, and this allowed me to really absorb everything that Japan has to offer.
I love doing physically active activities in the campus, such as going to the gym and play badminton, so I can refreshen myself and integrate myself further and deeper into the community.
Overall, I find myself incredibly excited for my future possibilities. I think I owe it to Nagoya University.
A cradle of history. A nature hub at the foot of a biodiversity-rich forest, and a leisure paradise. A haven for artists, intellectuals, and entrepreneurs. These describe the science and nature city that is home to the University of the Philippines Los Baños, or UPLB. a center of world-class learning. For over 100 years, UPLB has been at the forefront of quality education and cutting-edge research. From its beginnings as the College of Agriculture in 1909, it has grown into a leading national university with programs that encourage critical thinking, community involvement, and the pursuit of excellence in various fields of study. UPLB's 9 colleges and 2 schools offer a range of undergraduate and graduate degree programs. These include agriculture with agrobiotechnology, engineering and agro-industrial technology, veterinary medicine, forestry and natural resources, environmental science and management, human ecology, economics and management, public affairs, development communication, and the arts and sciences. As a testament to the quality of UPLB curricula, the Philippine Commission on Higher Education has recognized several UPLB units as centers of excellence and development in various years. UPLB is also the top performing school in many national licensure exams. Excellence in instruction is as much an offshoot of a strong teaching force as knowledge generated through extensive research and deep involvement in public service. UPLB takes the lead in national research and development programs as well as in policy making. It also shares these expertise with international organizations. Strengthening UPLB's instruction, research, and public service are its multidisciplinary human resources and multi-institutional and international collaborations. Such local and global networks make UPLB a dynamic, proactive university that meets the needs of present and future learners and equips and transforms them to be future leaders. Leaders who are aristocrats of the mind as well as of the heart for the service of the nation and beyond.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this afternoon session of the Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I am Neil H. Tangana, your moderator for this afternoon. This webinar is a co-presentation of the Nagoya University Alumni Association Philippine Branch, the Philippine Rice Research Institute of the Department of Agriculture, and the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Before we proceed, here are some friendly reminders. 1. The open forum would take place right after the speaker's presentation. A total of 10 minutes will be allotted, which would include the awarding of certificates. Number 2. The audience may post questions at the virtual billboard. 3. The online evaluation form or a Google form will be posted into the latter part of the program and may be submitted until December 18th. By completing the online evaluation, the audience or the attendees can receive a certificate of appearance and or participation. And for other inquiries, please email us at nuel.ph.2014@gmail.com. Without further ado, let us now start our afternoon's program by introducing the first speaker. Dr. Jasper Talyada is an interim program leader of the Strategically Modernized and Robust Technologies for Comprehensive and Secure Rice Industry, or Smarter Rice program, and concurrently as program leader of the Rice Farm Modernization and Mechanization Program, or RFMM. He did his bachelor's in uh, 1989 at UP Los Baños, majoring in agricultural engineering, specializing in crop processing. For masters, he took development technology major in agriculture engineering at the University of Melbourne, Australia. His doctoral in agricultural science focused on imaging spectroscopy for non-destructive quality measurements in fruits, which he did at the Miyazaki University of Japan in 2006. Dr. Jasper did a short stint as a postdoctoral researcher at the Kansas State University on air quality monitoring and at the USDA Agricultural Research Service on spectroscopy for seed quality, both located in Manhattan, Kansas, United States of America. His current research interests at the Phil Rice deals with electronics and instrumentation for rice agriculture, spanning on microcontroller and sensor technologies, robotics, and computer programming, among others. Without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Jasper Talyada, Supervising Science Research Specialist of the Philippine Rice Research Institute, for his talk, Smart Farming Technologies to Philippine Agriculture.
Doc Jasper, can you turn on the video?
And microphone.
And microphone. Doon po sa tabi ng screen share, paki-on po yung microphone nyo and then also video. Okay.
Yan, okay? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's good. Thank you.
It's the other way around. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jasper Talyada of Philippine Rice Research Institute. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Minasan konnichiwa. Mukhang nami-miss ko na mag-Japanese. Anyway, way back 2012, 2013, I was involved with Picard, DOST, for doing some training on microcontrollers for instrumentation, for sensing and control. At that time, the early concept of smart farming, we are trying to develop that. At that time, parang ang aming perspectives ay for automation of farming. Then in 2018, I participated in a forum organized by the Asian Productivity Organization, and at that time, they were talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0, or particularly Agriculture 4.0. And it was very, very new to me, okay? And I didn't know that what we were doing in smart farming is actually part of Agriculture 4.0. Upon returning back at Phil Rice, I asked my colleagues, have you heard of Agriculture 4.0? Sabi nila, hindi po. Wala silang clue kung ano yun. Then I asked Picard, I have some friends at Picard, and ganun din sabi nila, we don't know Agriculture 4.0. So, that was 2018, 2019 came, then now 2020, ayan na po ang Agriculture 4.0. And I'm so happy that we are having this webinar on that topic. Nakita ko talaga yung progress, the interest on this concept of Agriculture 4.0. Okay? Now, let me proceed with my presentation, Smart Farming Technologies for the Philippine Agriculture. Probably we are all aware that Agriculture 4.0 is still very, very new to the Philippines. Okay? Sa ngayon, more or less, people associate that with smart farming or farm automation, and probably sa ngayon I'm going to present more on those technologies. Okay, now let me first give you an overview or bird's eye view of what I'm going to discuss. Kanina may mga questions about why are we not sufficient with rice, ano? I'm going to very briefly tackle on that. Then some of the many smart farming technology solutions that we are trying to develop and promote here in the Philippines. And at PhilRice, we are trying to promote digital farming. Meron kaming platform called Future Rice. And of course, the next wave after all this. Now, sinabi kanina, bakit ito yung parating question na tinatanong sa atin, bakit ang Pilipinas ay hindi maka-achieve ng rice self-sufficiency? Okay? Unang-una po, napakababa po napakaliit po ng ating agricultural lands. Comparing our agricultural lands with Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, we have one of the smallest or littlest agricultural land po. Kaya napaka-konti lang pong available areas natin for crop production. Then aside from that, mataas din po ang ating cost of production. We have very high cost of production relative to other countries. That's why they're telling us that it's so difficult for us to achieve competitiveness in rice crop production. We belong to those countries with a little bit higher, not a little bit, significantly higher cost of production comparable to Indonesia and China. And all of these countries are net importers of rice. Compared to Vietnam, India, and Thailand, ayan po, mababa lang kanilang cost of production. Like Vietnam can get a kilo of palay for 6 pesos and 53 centavos, whereas the Philippines is about 12 pesos and 41 per kilo. So marami tayong hahabulin when it comes to cost of production. Another big problem is our ever-increasing population. In 2015, it is estimated to about 101 million, and it's growing about 1.84% annually, about 2%, no? 1.8 to 2%. Okay? Ang ating population density is about 347. Compared to Malaysia, they only have 95. Okay? Now, from 2015, 101 million, by 2030 is estimated to be about 128 million. And by 2040, that would be about 142 million. Imagine, in 20 years, about 40% of population will be added. Okay? Napakadaming pakakainin po sa Pilipinas. Pag pinag-uusapan po ang pagkain, each person is consuming about 110 to 114 kilograms annually. Sadyang mahilig kumain po ang mga Pilipino ng rice. Okay? It goes as high as 120 in some provinces, kilograms per capita. Okay? Now, andyan din po ang risks due to typhoons. Everybody knows that more than 20 typhoons visit our country. Okay? And recently we had experience with Typhoon Rommel and Typhoon Ulysses that really a lot of areas get flooded, a lot of crops were destroyed. Medyo common na sa atin itong problemang ito. Then ang Pilipinas, although increasing now over the years, nag-increase yung ating production because of the different technologies that we are trying to generate, the varietal technologies, the farming technologies, pero tumataas din po ang ating total consumption. That means we really need to import rice. Although we are the 8th largest producer of rice in the world, we are the 2nd largest importer of rice. Sometimes tayo ang nagko-command ng prices, no? Kasi tayo ang buyer po sa world market. Okay. Now, so these are the challenges that we have, especially for rice crop production. We have high population. Andiyan pong risk due to climate change and disasters. Okay? Di ba? Sumabog ang Taal last December. Okay, so yung ashes fell on the rice lands. So that would also diminish the agricultural areas. Okay, then we have the shrinking agricultural lands due to other for due to conversion, other uses. Okay, naging malaking problem ito sa land conversion. And of course, the input to crop production like fuel, tumataas din po. Although ngayon po, relatively mababa ang fuel price, ang crudo, pero over the years, tumataas po ang ating, kasi dyan nakabase din po ang cost of fertilizers, cost of chemicals due to the fuel costs. So, punta na po tayo sa concept ng Industry 4.0. So, it's been happening since 2011 in Europe, particularly in Germany nga po, no? Sa kanila kasi more on integration of different manufacturing practices or processes, okay? Involving many components of production, streamlined nila. That's why they have this concept of 4.0. There's a massive application of information and communication technologies, pati po manufacturing technologies na andyan po. Siguro narinig nyo na po yung book na The Third Wave by Alvin Toffler. That's Industry 3.0, more on the application of ICT, okay, sa different aspects of human life. Ngayon, itong Industry 4.0, ito na yung paggamit po ng mga Internet of Things, mga robotics, mga networks, okay? Actually, may nagsasabi na tayo ay nasa Industry 5.0. That's between 4.0 and 5.0 na po. Okay, but still, let's call that as Industry 4.0. And from there, we have the Agriculture 4.0. Now, let me discuss with you the different smart farming technology solutions that we can use or we can adopt to enhance our farming, no? But first, ang word smart farming comes in many names. We have heard of precision agriculture. Okay, we have heard of precision farming or SSNM or location or site-specific crop management or sabi ng iba, nutrient management. These are just names referring to smart farming. Okay, we are going high-tech in doing farming. Now, when we talk about 4.0, we talk about the technology of Internet of Things. Simple lang po ang concept ng Internet of Things. We have devices, electronic devices, which are addressable. Okay? Network addressable. Ibig sabihin, they can be connected to the internet cloud and they can send data to the cloud and they can also get commands or controls from the cloud coming from the servers. So yun basically ang Internet of Things. Lumabas ito, there was a big interest in IoT because of the development of the different microcontroller platforms. Okay? These are smart devices, smart boards with microcontrollers. Not only the CPU, but you have the memory, you have the clock, you have the control ports present in those boards. So, nung early 2010, 2009, naging popular po ang Arduino. Maybe some of you have heard about Arduino. Then after that, there had been a proliferation of other microcontroller platforms. Andyan na po ang Wemos, na naka-integrate na po ang Wi-Fi na controller board. In a very small board, may Wi-Fi ka na. Then, Raspberry Pi came after Arduino. It's a single board computer na mataas ang kanyang memory, mataas ang kanyang processing power. Andiyan na rin po ang kanyang peripheral interface. You can connect USB devices, you can connect cameras into that board. Then lumabas po after Raspberry Pi, another version of it called Orange Pi. Okay, based on Raspberry Pi. All of these are mga open source technologies, open source. Any manufacturer can copy the design of these boards. Actually, meron po tayong Banana Pi pa. Another flavor of Raspberry Pi. Then, recently, meron tayong NVIDIA Jetsons na mind-boggling itong microcontroller board na ito. Kasi they are now positioning this board for artificial intelligence. You can teach the board how to recognize images, count objects and images. Gumagamit siya ng mga graphics processing unit, mga GPUs na ginagamit normally sa gaming. Ngayon, ginagamit nila for artificial intelligence. Also, there are proliferation of environmental and optical sensors. Meron tayong sensors for temperature, for RH, for soil moisture, pH, marami na po nag-proliferate. Kaya naging madali na po ang sensing. Optical, you have cameras, you have light-dependent resistors, and so on. For controllers, meron na tayong mga solid-state relays. We have motor drivers. You can control big motors using a very small board. And of course, importante po ang communications. RF, radio frequency, Zigbee, LoRa stands for long range. Dati-rati kasi you can only communicate as far as 200, 300 kilometers. Ngayon ba, pinag-uusapan 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers. That is LoRa. And of course, Wi-Fi. Andiyan din po ang Bluetooth and other communications platform. Probably you have heard of Alexa with Amazon. It's shown on the lower left sa screen natin. Yan po, that's also based on Internet of Things. You can even issue mga verbal commands. Alexa, timer 20 minutes. And it will do a timer. Alexa, what's in the news? It will explain to you some news. Meron din mga Sonoff devices. These are IoT devices that allows you to control devices in your house like electric fans, heaters, and so on. Okay, so because of the proliferation of these network, uniquely addressable network devices for sensing and control, dyan na po lumabas ang Internet of Things. So massive integration of different devices. So sa PhilRise po, we also have works on IoT. Meron po kami mga monitors, okay, which we place on different parts of a farm. Yung mga orange dots po, yun ang IoT namin. It can sense temperature, RH, soil moisture. Okay, we are trying to deploy them in the farm, and automated po ang pag-capture ng mga data pong ito. Yan po. This is one thesis students from UPLB actually, who is he's an electrical engineering student. He worked on the IoT, no? We asked him to develop with us the IoT device. Pero yung design namin yun basically, siya lang yung nag-put them together. Okay, we can do that for crop health, like height and color, microclimate, like canopy temperature, humidity, drip irrigation control, okay, water quality monitoring. We can do pH, electrical conductivity, temperature, and of course, automating the hydroponics. Okay? Yon, going to hydroponics, pag sinabing smart farming, hindi mawawala ang hydroponics where we have good control sa nutrient management ng crops, no? In a recirculating manner. And hydroponics already comes in different names and different systems like nutrient film method, floating wrap, or deep water hydroponics. Yung ebb and flow, yung taas-baba ng nutrient solution. Yung non-circulating hydroponics, to yung crack kit na tinatawag na coming from Hawaii, yung technology na yan. Andyan yung Dutch bucket, the rain gutter, ang dami po, aquaponics, aeroponics, vertical farming or vertical hydroponics, and meron po tayong field hydroponics. Actually, para lang siyang Dutch bucket systems. So marami na po tayong, ang CLSU po is quite popular when it comes to hydroponics. Go to YouTube. You can search a lot of farms here in the Philippines who are already doing hydroponics. Pati rin po mga suppliers, okay, for the different inputs. Then ito po, yung concept po ng plant factory where you grow, where you're basically using the hydroponics technology but you grow crops inside enclosures, inside buildings, okay? Ito yung ginagamit to for vertical farming normally to maximize the use of the area. Japan has been pioneering in the concept of plant factory, no? And I was able to talk with the author, Okizaki ba yun? Na original author ng plant factory concept. Sabi niya, that time when we had the forum, there's a declining interest in plant factory because it's damn too expensive to operate one. But alam nyo ba, during the Fukushima disaster, because of the radiation na spread next to the nuclear reactors, nagkaroon po ng revival of the plant factory because they cannot rely on the irradiated land for crop production. So, yan po. Then, of course, andyan din po ang drip irrigation for large scale, for orchards, or also for vegetables, no? For ano. And if you're going to put there the nutrients, tawag na po doon ay fertigation. So, Matagal na po ito, 1970s, 1980s technology po to na inumpisahan po ng Israel. Okay? Because they have a little access for water. Then, dyan na po ang paggamit ng satellite. Sa ngayon po, no, satellite technology. Ginagamit natin siya for communications, for monitoring, and so on. Lalo na ngayon, may mga open satellites na po. Okay? Na you can download data from this satellite. And we made use of this technology in the partnership collaboration between IRI and PhilRISE called PRISM, which stands for Philippine Rice Information System. So in this project, okay, this is a IRI DA PhilRISE collaborative project. We can do remote sensing, satellite-based monitoring of the production areas for rice. Okay? Using the satellite technology, yung Sentinel na satellites. Okay? Kasi ang kagandahan niya, meron siyang synthetic aperture radar, okay, na kaya niya mag-penetrate ng clouds. Okay? Unlike yung mga ordinary image cameras, pagka meron ka ng clouds, di mo nakita sa ilalim ng cloud. Pero siya, na-penetrate niya yung clouds na yon. And the good thing about this is that you can distinguish land from water. Ganun po, land and water. Ngayon kung previously alam mo na isang area, it used to be planted with rice, tapos na-detect ng satellite na may tubig o basa siya, there's an increased likelihood, there's a good probability na meron siyang tanim na rice. So with PRISM, na-estimate po yung mga planted areas. Okay? Tapos pag alam nila kung kailan tinanim, may estimate din po nila kung kailan siya mag-harvest at ano ang kanya magiging yield. So ito po siya, gumagamit siya ng isang process-based crop modeling called ORIZA. Ini-integrate ng ORIZA yung spatial information, the weather data, okay, and so on para magkaroon siya ng forecasted yield. So it will look something like this, no? It can detect the planted areas for rice and then estimate the yields for that. So nagiging ano siya, parang in parallel, okay? Ang officially nag-estimate kasi ng yield o nagpo-forecast ng yield sa atin ay yung PSA, the Philippine Statistics Authority. Okay, dating BAS na nilipat sa PSA. Kaya sila ang gumagawa. But they do that manually. Here, we do that in an automated manner. Kaya, di rin mawawala po yung apps, especially the mobile apps, no? When we talk about Agriculture 4.0. Like itong RCM or Rice Crop Manager, this was also the co-developed between ng IRI and PhilRISE, where we give advisory to the farmers on how much fertilizers to apply and when and how to apply those fertilizers. Meron po tayong app for that. So we do clinics like this where farmers can ask like given yung area nila, in condition ng kanilang area, ng land nila, and RCM can suggest like if you need to add zinc, okay, sa mga flooded areas kasi importante po ang zinc. Then we also have an app called MOWET or -1 element technique. It's a technology developed by PhilRISE, okay, where we systematically remove one element. Mayroon tayong mga test pots of rice, no? And systematically we remove one nutrient in the formulation, okay? Then titingnan natin reaction ng plant when we remove that nutrient. And based on those reaction, mako-compute po ang how much fertilizer to apply dun sa plant. That's the -1 element technique. Then of course meron tayong AgriDoc. AgriDoc is more of a recording app, no? Yung mga farmers could easily record kung kailan siya nagtanim, ano ang kanyang mga in-apply na chemicals, fertilizers, and so on, kailan siya nag-harvest, how much yung harvest. So kino-collect yung all data na yun. Tapos later on, the farmers can get insight on the productivity of na kanyang area. Ano yung pwede niyang i-tweak sa next production. Okay? Can also do, as written here, yung mga farm geo-visualization. Kasi parang ano lang yan, parang Google Maps. Okay? Okay. And mga crop growth transition notification. For example, sasabihin niya na plants mo ay nasa panicle initiation stage na. Napaka-sensitive na yan. So, Huwag mong kakalimutan ang irrigation pagka nag-PI ka na. Okay, pest and disease alert, vital information, and so on. Okay, now moving on. Next is one of the popular app na dinevelop po sa Field Rice na tatawag namin BP app o Binhing Palay or Rice Variety app. Andun po sa app na to nakalagay po ang ang profile po ng bawat variety. Kasi yung tinatanong nila parati, gaano kataas ba ang ani ng RC222 compared sa RC160? So this app will tell you that. Pati yung kanyang grain quality, milling potential, hardness, and so on, pwede pong ibigay ng app na ito. Ito yung meron kaming downloads kasi yun ang parating tanong ng mga farmers. Ano ba tong, lalo na yung tatanong niya, ano ba latest nating variety? Andyan po sa BP app. Then sa namin recently developed is the weed recognition app. Okay, by shooting or by getting an image of the plant, picture lang niya, ma-identify na kaagad kung anong species siya. Okay? Right there sa app mo, you don't have to be connected sa internet. Then pati po yung control, pasabihin niya na rin po ano yung appropriate chemical to be applied kung gusto mong i-control yung weed na yan. And of course, andyan po ang robotics. Okay? Pag pinag-usapan na yung field automation, we really need robotics technology. Marami na pong nagwo-work on this, especially abroad, no? Field robots. Kung napanood nyo yung Interstellar na movie, doon po naka-feature yung mga robots po doon na nagulo yung GPS tapos nawala ng yung robots. Okay? Itong video na pinapakita, this is being developed right now by UST, si Dr. Anthony James Bautista po. And explain niya po how they developed this autonomous robot. This is Picard funded na mag-isa kayang tumakbo ng robot. Yan ang gusto nilang pakita. Autonomous kung tawagin nila. Actually, this 2 steps to 3 steps forward na siya. Okay? Sabi ko nga sa kanila, sana remote control na muna siya bago siya maging autonomous. Pero actually capable din siya for remote control operation. Then, drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, these are staples na po ng Agriculture 4.0, paggamit ng mga drones. And we can use drones firstly for crop monitoring, we can use them for crop spraying, and right now we can also use that for seeding. Sa Field Rice, we were able to demonstrate that you can get 20 kilograms per hectare seeding rice. Okay, 20. Actually, mahirap magawa yon with manual broadcasting. Mahirap ma-achieve yon. Uniform ang iyong application ng seeds. But with drones, you can achieve 20 kilograms of seeds per hectare. But mostly, it's very good for monitoring. No? Like in Field Rice, we have the fixed wing and the multi-rotor. Okay? We can do aerial capture para namin visually ma-analyze yung state of crops. Okay, where are they planted? Meron pa bang nahuhuli sa planting? Yan, we can do that. And we can do low altitude rice monitoring for computation of vegetation indices. Okay, like this one. Okay, the normalized NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index, itong normalized green-red difference index, another vegetation index siya. Okay, now we can now do a pseudo color mapping para malaman natin alin yung medyo mababang nutrients o mataas ang nutrients o ano yung ina-attack ng insects and so on. And for the promotion and deployment of digital farming, kanina pinag-uusapan natin ito, we are trying to develop these advanced technologies for farming. Ang problema ngayon, maipapasa ba natin to sa mga kabataan, sa mga anak ng farmers? Okay? Tumatanda na po kasi ang farmers natin, average age about 57 years old, tumatanda na po sila. And we really have to make farming sexy to the youth, sa mga kabataan. So we have an agritourism farm at Field Rice called Future Rice. Ito yung aming platform for demonstrating all these advanced technologies. Okay? We now use this for the regular Lakbay Palay or Farmers Field Day. But aside from that, we also invite mga schools, mga turista to visit us. Like you can see the paddy art up left, okay, para magpa-picture, okay, makita na you can also do some art using palay, okay. And pinapakita yung mga monitors, yung mga IoT devices, yung effects ng apps like Rice Crop Manager against Mowat app, tapos yung paggamit ng drones. And recently, we also have the automated irrigation control in gate pang control. We can do that sa future Rice. Okay? So, ang idea kasi, we really have to make farming exciting to the youth by showing them alternative farming options. We can make use of computers, we can make use of satellite, of drones, to make farming really, really high-tech, okay? And something to be enjoyed about. And what would be the next wave for smart farming or agriculture 4.0? Okay? Ang isang parating buzzword pinag-uusapan ngayon ay yung concept ng big data analytics or the artificial intelligence, where we try to aggregate, okay, any data, okay, to one holistic system, and based on that aggregated data, you can make insights or analysis on what to do, and it will also, you can translate that in sa kanyang economics. For example, siguro lahat naman tayo dito ay nakagamit na ng Lazada or Shopee. Okay? Each time that you use that app, you are throwing data to the servers. Alam nila iyong buying pattern. Ano yung mga alam nila kung anong iyong paborito. And they try to suggest to you something na related to that. Bumili ka ng item A na nito, alam nila associated siya sa item B. Sasuggest nila kagad sa yung item B na yon to go with your item A na binili mo. So, yan po. Ayan, isang paggamit ng big data. Okay, so ini-integrate with agriculture, we can integrate yung mga ground sensors natin with the data from the drones. Tapos may apps tayo, then mga devices like the Internet of Things. And through an artificial intelligence, we can do some insights. Mamaya may explain pa ako how can we really operationalize this one. So ito yung tinatawag na, sa akin po, this is my concept called the great integration. Yeah, and it comes in demand forecasting. Okay, like sa Pilipinas, no, marami tayong mga bayan-bayan. Okay, tapos yung mga tao kasi sa bawat bayan-bayan, iba-iba ang kanilang patterns or calendar of demand of food. Diba? Alam natin, pag piyastahan, mataas ang kanilang consumption ng food. Pagdating po ng Christmas, ang taas na po ang consumption ng pork, ng chicken. Pero pagdating ng Lenten season, mababa ang demand sa pork. Pag pumunta kayo ng Mindanao, mababa ang demand for pork. Mataas ang demand for chicken. Mga ganun ba ang kung mapofocus man lang natin siya, we can now backtrack. Okay? Una yung logistics. How quickly can the different channels deliver those food? Ano yung mga transport channels natin? Okay? Lalo na sa Pilipinas, sa multi-island, problema po ang logistics. Ano yung magiging climate outlook for next year? Magkakaroon ba tayo maraming typhoons? Will there be a lot of rains? Ganun po. And then alam natin yung mga performance ng production systems. Alam natin anong areas ang magaling sa onion, magaling sa vegetable, magaling sa mga fruit trees. Okay? Mapo-project po lahat yan. And once you backtrack them, you can now schedule everything based on that demand forecasting. So we can maximize what the available, we can maximize the food produced sa demand ng mga consumers. Ayaw natin mangyari yung, for example, onions. Pag anihan, halos tinatapon na ang sibuyas, 5 pesos per kilo, 2 pesos per kilo na lang. Pagka anihan. Pero during other parts of the year, umaabot siya ng 90 pesos, 80 pesos per kilo. Ang laki ng disparity. So, we can only do this if we apply big data. We could integrate all those data into one system and do these projections and do this analysis. Ang sadly sa case ng Pilipinas, we don't have enough good data, clean data na nako-collect. Okay? Kasi alam ko kung minsan yung presyo sa palengke, kino-collect yan, minsan butal-butal or in estimate na lang. So yun ang isang problem natin, how to have good data sa atin sa Pilipinas. Okay, let me now quickly share to you this ginawa ng Cambodia on smart farming. Okay? Meron silang mega farm. There is this one company who are willing to invest on machinery, who are willing to invest on technology. They were given 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer area ng Cambodian government. That's about 400 hectares. Okay? Tapos balak nila magtanim ng corn and soybeans for export sa Thailand, sa Laos, sa Malaysia, for animal feed production, animal feeds. Kaya corn and soybeans. So ang ginawa nila, they really analyze this 400 hectares. They have a lot of soil sampling na ginawa para makuha ang profile. They collected weather data and they try to integrate things so they can come up with a production schedule. And during harvest, andyan na yung mga combine, they could map out the productivity ng areas. Alam nila ano yung mga high producing part ng land nila, low producing part, and they try to analyze bakit ganun, bakit dito mataas, bakit doon mababa. So the following season, they would know what to do. They can now make adjustments ng pH, adjustments ng fertilizer levels, ng water levels, and so on. Okay? Tapos kasama na rin dyan ang pag-collect ng weather data for the projected rainfall, pati na rin po yung pag-analyze ng insect incidents, insect damage incidents. May mga monitors silang nilagay dun sa kanilang area. Sana magawa po natin sa Pilipinas ito. Possible naman po, kaya sana, okay? But we really need to get support. We need to organize ourselves, government and private sector. So what are the key messages that I have in this presentation? The ever-presence of risk. Andiyan po parati ang problema ng climate change, of high price fluctuations ng inputs. Ayan po. They are everly present. And this necessitates enhancement of productivity and total production efficiencies natin. We really have to organize ourselves and work things out how to really increase productivity, reduce costs, and increase our efficiencies. Then, andyan na po ang Agriculture 4.0. We need to realize that and integrate that in our farms para makinabang po tayo. How to do that? Yan po, malaking usapin po yan, pag-usapan natin. And smart agriculture takes advantage of new information technologies, okay? Electronics technologies, mechanical technologies, and so on. And models to maximize productivity. Ayan po. So, maraming salamat po sa ating lahat. Sana po marami kayong natutunan for the different smart farming technologies that we have for Philippine agriculture. Sabi nga sa Japanese, arigato, domo arigato gozaimasu. Minasan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jasper Talyada, for your very informative walkabout through different gizmos and gadgets relating smart agriculture that's happening in the Philippines. Truly, the constant risks are the ones that necessitates us agriculturists to look into sustainability and maximizing of agriculture for our future. So we now proceed to the question and answer portion. First, we have a question from Dr. Cynthia Saloma, or our president of NUAL PH, regarding the UPCAT applicants. There is low interest in agricultural applications. Though there is agricultural biotech, agriculture per se would have very low interest. Is this a general trend in other schools as well? And we really need to attract our youth to agricultural courses. What do you suggest going forward?
Okay. I think it is, no? Since 1 or 2 decades ago, na-observe na po yung declining enrollment in agriculture, in fisheries, and forestry. In fact, may malaking program before ang PICARD, how to attract this enrollment for agriculture, for forestry, no? Nagkaroon po ng, and di lang sa UPLB, pati po other universities. They are aware of that. And kailangan po natin to make, we really have to make agriculture as attractive as possible for this youth, ano? Kailangan natin may pakita, o kailangan nila ma-experience din na there are other options to do agriculture. Hindi lang yung pupunta ka sa field, ma-expose ka sa init ng araw, madudumihan ang iyong kamay. They can also do that, say, for example, using hydroponics. You can plant factories, ganun po. So, that's all. Karoon po talaga ng campaign. Okay. Now, kung ma-realize din nila yung importance po ng food production, especially in the future, ganun po. A lot of people will really go into agriculture for food po. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question from Dr. Saloma. Wala po ba tayong big data center sa agriculture-related matters?
Meron po tayong some data centers sa dating BAS, Bureau of Agricultural Statistics. We have that. Matagal na sila nagko-collect ng data, and this function, alam ko na absorb po ng PSA. Pero alam ko po binalik din sila sa DA kasi kailangan focus sila sa agriculture talaga. Okay? Pero I'm not really so sure about the volume and the quality of the data that they have. That's why meron po kami isang bagong project sa PhilRice, which was funded by PSHERD, on organizing a data analytics center for at least for rice agriculture. We have it. We have to commence on January sa next year na po, January 1. Ang commencement date, because we really recognize na kailangan po natin ng data on agriculture. Thank you po for that question.
All right, sir. This is the third question, probably the last.
Sure.
The mentioned technologies seem very interesting. Then how much of this agriculture in the how much of the agriculture in the Philippines actually use these technologies? That's from Mr. Rafael Hahala.
Thank you po for the question, Mr. Rafael. Sa totoo lang po, kakaunti pa lang po ang talaga nag-adapt on smart agriculture technologies, okay? The best that I can cite are the hydroponics farm. We have some hydroponics farm in the counties na meron po sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao na at different scales, at different sizes. Okay? So they are the ones who are really pushing this kind of technologies. And I also have met some farms in Mindanao who are using automated weather stations, AWSs, for pest and disease prediction po sa mga banana farms. Ganun po. So, very limited pa rin po. Kaya, ito yung challenge po sa atin. Marami po tayong opportunities to do this sa Pilipinas. So, and I think the government is also excited of putting investments on the smart farming technologies for Agriculture 4.0. Thank you very much.
Okay, that is Dr. Jasper Talyada of PhilRice. We now proceed to the awarding of Certificate of Appreciation. So let me read the citation. Nagoya University Alumni Association, Philippine Branch, presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Jasper G. Talyada in grateful recognition for his invaluable contribution as speaker during the NUAL PH webinar series with the theme Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of Fourth Industrial Revolution, hosted at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, Philippines, on the 11th of December 2020, signed Chair Organizing Committee, Dr. Rodmir Datun, and President NUAL PH, Dr. Cynthia P. Saloma. Again, thank you very much, sir, for your very insightful discussion.
Arigato.
Okay. Thank you. Now we move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is not foreign to us because he is one of us. He attained his doctorate degree in the international development from the Graduate School of International Development, Nagoya University. He is currently an assistant professor of rural sociology in the College of Agriculture, University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Among his various research would be agriculture and rural development issues in the Philippines. Uh, without delaying further, here is Dr. Rodmir F. Datun in his presentation, Enabling Alternative Actors in the National Extension System.
Good afternoon. I am Rodmir Datun from the Division of Agriculture Extension. Hi. I'm here to talk about enabling alternative extension actors through smart technologies. Case of the Rice Crop Manager, or the RCM. This presentation is from the research project funded by the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Agricultural Research, entitled Taking Agricultural Innovations into Scale, Developing Alternative Strategies from the Adoption of Rice Crop Manager Recommendations. This is a joint project by UPLB and ERI. The UPLB team is composed of Evelyn Sano, Marian De Luna, Daniel Laborte, and Teodora Malabanan, while the ERI team is composed of Alice Laborte, Lourdes Velasco, and Sheila Valencia. As we all know, the Philippine Agriculture Extension System can be characterized as pluralistic, meaning composing of different actors operating as extension organization or extension agents. It can also be characterized as fragmented, meaning these actors work independent of each other or not in coordination with one another. Each actor has a comparative advantage. Of course, each actor also has limitations. So in this presentation, I will be focusing on the government, input suppliers or the fertilizer or chemical suppliers, and the cooperatives, which have their own extension programs. Of course, there are also some actors, namely the SUCs, some NGOs and people organizations who has extension programs, but I will not be talking about them in this presentation. So because of this pluralistic arrangement, these different actors have their own, as I've said earlier, have their own extension programs, but the backbone of the system is still the government, especially the LGUs. The advantage of the government is it has access to public funds, it has the ability to enforce policies. However, it is limited in funding, especially, of course, the LGUs, where you can see they lack the human and, sometimes technical and sometimes the equipment to do the extension activities or to disseminate modern technologies. The input suppliers, on the other hand, has an advantage in resources and capital. And they also have access to R&D and knowledge. They are profit-oriented, and because they have extension agents, they make themselves accessible to the end users. Cooperatives, like private corporations, have financial resources themselves and manpower. And because of this, they make themselves accessible to the end users as well, especially because they're located in the villages, in the towns. They are more accessible to the end users. So all in all, there's a potential to increase coverage when we factor in this various extension actors in the system, in the extension system. There's a potential to cover many farmers and provide them with correct information. However, there is a need for standardization of information because, as I have said earlier, this extension system is very fragmented, and they are not. They're sourcing their information from different sources, so it's the information is not standard. RCM, or the Rice Crop Manager, aims to contribute in solving this problem. The RCM is developed by ERI, funded by the Department of Agriculture, and it aims to provide a smart way of providing farmers or having farmers access to knowledge and information regarding proper and scientific-based nutrient or fertilizer management. So how does it work? First, you download the app from the internet. So maybe an extension agent downloads it, or the farmer can download it themselves. And then the extension agent can interview the farmer, or the farmer can, if they have the app, can input their own information in the app. And then they submit it to a cloud-based server. An algorithm automatically generates recommendation, and then it sends it back to the app. For those farmers who has no computer or has no smartphones, it can be printed by the extension agent or the intermediary and given to the farmer. Or if they choose to, or choose so, that the recommendation can be sent to the farmer. Okay, so what does this solve? What does this RCM, this cloud-based platform, solve? So if you look at our current knowledge dissemination system, it's characterized as from top to bottom. The knowledge or the information from international research centers and national research centers goes through the national government agencies, different offices from the regional, provincial, municipal, before it can get to the farmers or the end users, the knowledge. This is also true in some private corporation dissemination system. So having a cloud-based platform, it can bypass the different levels of offices, geographic locations, and different actors. It makes the information readily available to the end users, the farmers, or the intermediaries. For example, the international research, national research centers, and private research centers can just upload the information in the cloud, and through the internet, it can be accessed readily or immediately, almost instantaneously, by the end user or the intermediaries. And more importantly, it is standardized. Everybody can get the same information or the same standard, the same legitimate information as the other. So there is a uniform or standardized information or source of information. So let's see closer. What is this recommendation contain? It contains farmer and field information. It contains the cropping calendar or the schedule or the stages of growth of your crop or your rice crop. It contains other crop management recommendation, and it contains nutrient management recommendations, and of course some organizational information. So the meat of the recommendation is this, the nutrient management recommendation. So it provides each farmer a unique recommendation or a personalized or a specialized recommendation on nutrient and crop management, because each farmer's field is different, so it needs a unique or personalized recommendation. It also contains the right time of fertilizer application, which stage of the growth of your crop should you apply, the right source, and the right source meaning the right type of fertilizer, and the right amount of application. So this is important because according to some studies from ERI or conducted by ERI in their evaluation trials and their pilot study, if you do the right time, right source, and right amount, if you follow it, you could potentially increase your yield from 840 kg to 550 kg with a gross return of 9,600 to 9,300 pesos. So it increases your yield and it increases your profit if you follow the right recommendations. However, because this is internet based, and as I've said earlier, the backbone of our research, of our extension system is still the government and the LGUs, which is having difficulty accessing in the internet, especially in rural areas. This RCM or this technology is not being optimally disseminated to the farmers. So but the good news is because being cloud-based, other actors can step in and fill the gap. Fill the gap by the government. These are the cooperatives, the fertilizer distributors, and small fertilizer stores. As I've said earlier, they have the equipment, the internet access, and the manpower to do extension. And because of this, because of the RCM, it enables them to be alternative actors. So our the project that I mentioned earlier, especially look into this and specifically assess and studies how this can be, how these actors can be increase their effectiveness in doing in disseminating the RCM. So according to our initial studies, the cooperative can be viable alternative actors because they have the physical and financial resources to access the internet. Of course, they have the human resources. And they're very accessible to the farmers being located in the villages. Of course, there are some limitations. They cannot access their non-members, the non-members and the poorer farmers who are not part of the cooperative. However, we found out that the most important factor is the motivation. We found out that the cooperatives are motivated to use RCM because it improves their business efficiency and profitability. If farmers do the correct fertilizer management or apply the correct amount of fertilizer, it increases the yield. And remember, cooperatives loan money to the farmers, and if farmers are more profitable, then this helps the business of the cooperative. It also reduces risk and uncertainties. If they reduce risk and uncertainties, then loaning for the cooperatives is easier. And of course, it legitimizes the information that they are giving to the farmers. The farmers are not second guessing the cooperatives, or they don't have doubts anymore because they see that the source of the information is from trusted sources like the FieldRice, DA, and EV. For fertilizer distributors, we found out that they can be viable extension actors because they have the physical resources and access to human resources and equipment to access the internet and provide the recommendations to the farmers. Of course, the limitation is that they are limited to high productivity areas. To those areas which has low productivity, they cannot cover it because they will not profit from it. The motivation for them is when the farmers use the optimal fertilizer or amount of fertilizer, it leads to increased sales for them. And as also, like the cooperatives, it legitimizes their recommendations because the farmers will not second guess them anymore or have doubts anymore, or they will not accuse anymore the fertilizer distributors of recommending fertilizers for profit, right? For small fertilizer stores, we found out that their advantage is their proximity to the end users because they are located in the palengke, in the bayan, in the poblacion. They are frequently interacting with the end users. So this frequency leads to, of course, frequency of interaction leads to frequency of recommendation. So end users can easily access
these stores, they can also easily access correct recommendations for fertilizer management practices. Some limitations also involve human resources, so and they need training in accessing or in giving recommendation, and some physical resources or access to the internet, because some stores don't have access to the internet. So like the large fertilizer distributors, their motivation is for their business to grow, and it also legitimizes their recommendations to the farmer. So in summary, cloud-based agriculture innovation provides accessible, timely, consistent, science-based, and standardized information for everybody. Freely accessible cloud-based fertilizer recommendation platform empowers private actors in performing agricultural extension. Science-based information provides private actors legitimacy in providing extension service to the end users. This is very important in empowering these private sectors. Each actors have their comparative advantage and limitations. Despite this, they can augment the limited capacity and resources of government extension services. So what is the implication of this in policy and in research? Improved internet access in rural areas is key for smart technologies to be optimally used by end users. So in our time, in this fourth industrial revolution, internet access is key, especially in rural areas. The private sector can be viable alternative extension actors in disseminating smart agriculture innovations to achieve wider impact among end users. They can be used to overcome limitations of public agencies and end users. In order for technologies, however, to be disseminated by private actors, it has to be incongruent to their business models and organizational objectives. Thus, in developing smart technologies, we may consider the private sector's innovations. So that ends my presentation, and I am happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Presentation on users or extension users of technology. Indeed, no matter how advanced or how beautiful technology would be for the next for the smart tech would be made available without the use and intervention of actual users, it would be in futility. Now we are opening the floor for question and answer. If you have any question, you are now free to type in the chat box. Okay, so first question from Miss Melinda Limlenko. Has there been any recommendation that will go for less usage of fertilizer, which will be a disincentive to the private sector?
Dr. Beer, please turn on your video, please. And also the microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay. Good. Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. From Miss Melinda Limlenko, has there been any recommendation that will go for less usage of fertilizer, which will be a disincentive to the private sector? And then actually she would have a follow-up question for that. And how do all the actors work together so that there would be no overlapping efforts?
For I'll just address first the first question. For rice, I don't know if less fertilizer is optimal, but this technology, RCM, is giving the correct or optimal amount of fertilizer, the correct application, time of application, and the right type. So I don't think for rice it is optimal or it's correct to give less fertilizer. Maybe
Melinda is referring to the correct amount, the optimal amount, not necessarily the lesser amount. Because if you use less amount of fertilizer for the crop's requirement, you'll get lower yields, right? For the second question, is there a way of them working together? The beauty of this technology, the RCM technology, is you can overlap. You can overlap as long as you give the intermediary your proper or your correct information. You'll get the same recommendation every time. So there's no problem of overlapping. The only problem or not a problem, but the only advantage of many actors or many intermediaries using the technology is farmers have a lot of ways to access the technology, where whatever their preference is, whether they prefer it from the government, from the input provider store, or from a big for a big fertilizer distributor. So wherever they access it, wherever they want, kasi may mga suki-suki sila, they'll always have the correct and standardized recommendation for fertilizer management. So that's the beauty of a cloud-based recommendation or cloud-based technology. Yes, Neil.
Thank you, Dr. Rodmir. Yes, we have one very nice comment from Dr. Cynthia Saloma. True as we have experience in many things and research products, it should be emphasized that the value chain and the production chain should be completed up to the marketing and commercialization, as well as post-market support. Yes, indeed. Okay, here's a new question from Mr. J. Baltazar. How many % of farmers are utilizing the RCM? Did we see any increase in value or profitability for farmers?
So right now, thank you, Jay, for your question. So right now, as I've said, because the RCM technology is internet-based and cloud-based, and the backbone of our extension system or national extension system is still the local governments. And as we know, everybody knows that internet connectivity in the rural areas of the country is very, very poor. So right now, I would say, I don't have the exact numbers, but I would say that the adoption rate is very, very low. That's why this project, funded by the DA, the Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Agricultural Research, aims to test how well these alternative actors would perform if they themselves disseminate the technology. So from Jay, I will have to get back to you in 2 years as we collect our data. But from the pilot study of Erie and their evaluation trials, as I've mentioned earlier, you'll get about 550 kilograms to 840 kilograms increase in yield, and about 9,300, that's per hectare, and about 9,300 to 9,600 per hectare increase in gross returns.
Okay, thank you, Rodmir. Just a shout out, Dr. Joyce Cartagena from Nagoya is in the virtual room as an attendee. Thank you for your support.
Hi, Joyce.
Yes, regarding questions on having a certificate of participation, again, we have to repeat that you have to fill up the evaluation form and submit it to us. It's in the Google form. It's already on top of your screens, upper right. So if you want a certificate of participation, kindly fill up and submit. Okay, are there any more questions for Dr. Datun? We have some more time. Okay, if there would be none, shall we proceed to the awarding of certificate? Okay. Same citation, Nagoya University Alumni Association, Philippine Branch, presents this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Rodmir F. Datun in grateful recognition for his invaluable contribution as speaker during the NUAL PH webinar series with the theme Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of Fourth Industrial Revolution or FIRE, hosted at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, Philippines on 11 December 2020, signed by himself and Dr. Cinchas P. Saloma, President of NUAL PH. Congratulations, Rodmir.
Thank you, everybody, and please enjoy the rest of the seminar. The next speaker, the next talk is a great talk. Thank you.
All right. So now we don't want to keep you waiting any longer. We would be proceeding right to our last but not the least speaker, Mr. Ruel T. Amparo is the CEO and co-founder of Cropital. He graduated with academic distinction from the University of the Philippines and was recognized nationally for his student leadership, data analytics, and community development. At a young age of 22, he founded Cropital. Cropital is just the largest peer-to-peer lending platform for smallholder farmers in the Philippines. As an industrial engineering graduate from UP Diliman and as a 2016 graduate for entrepreneurship development at the Asian Institute of Management, Mr. Ruel T. Amparo has a very, very long way to go. Again, in his presentation, Financing Small Farmers in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, let us welcome Mr. Ruel T. Amparo. Hello, Ruel.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon po to everyone. Can I start na po ba? Can I share my screen? I'll start.
Yes, sir. Please share your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Is my screen clear? Okay, so can I start?
Go ahead po.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Ruel from Cropital and thank you so much for inviting me. And maraming salamat po for, actually, there are a lot of familiar names in this group. And it's really nice to see you again. And I'd like to mention lang Phil Rice and definitely our ERI partners who are also here. And thank you so much for supporting us. Siguro quick story muna before I proceed with who we are and what we do and our somehow relation then with the Fourth Industrial Revolution. How are we actually doing some technologies that might be pasok po dun sa tinatawag nating FIRE. So actually, nung na-mention naman po, I was a bit young when I started Cropital and one of my first mentor was actually from Phil Rice, si Dr. Liza Borday po. So during the time na I message, I believe around 40 people via email, na randomly nakita ko lang po yung emails ng mga experts na I need kasi help in starting Cropital. Si Dr. Borday was actually one of the 3 people who responded na, sige, puntahan mo ko to actually, so I can help you out. Then during that time, quite interestingly also, hindi ko talaga makakalimutan yung pumunta po ako ng Phil Rice sa Nueva Ecija and napagkamalan din po akong nag-a-apply ng internship dun po sa kanila. But anyway, long story short, we're really happy that we sparked that relationship and through that very instance, it opened a lot of opportunities for us and we've also are able to create and establish partnerships even with ERI. And right now, we are working then with a number of government agencies in pushing and pursuing our mission. So just to go back, again, I am from Cropital, and we are Philippines' largest crowd lending platform for farmers. So this is a bit new for most people, yung crowd lending. But bakit ba namin naisipan yung crowd lending? Basically, a lot of us are very much informed about the struggles of our smallholder farmers. And in the Philippines, yun nga po, given that we are experiencing a lot of typhoons, prices fluctuation, it's hindi na siya hindi na surprising to know na nasa $2 per day yung kinikita ng average farmers natin. And something very interesting din is that farming po kasi is a business, and every business needs capital to get started. In the case of the farmers, you need the seeds, the fertilizer, and the land preparation. And given the low income, we cannot really expect then savings from them. So most of the farmers, especially the smaller ones, end up depending on credit or utang. Unfortunately, given their standing, it's quite harder for some of our small farmers to access the formal, cheaper, affordable loans. They end up getting it from the more convenient but quite pricey informal lenders that could be as high as 20% per month. So this is where Cropital is coming from. So basically, we have started a crowd lending platform. So as you can see here on your screen, this is yung tsura po ng website or platform namin. It allows anyone to help finance farmers or support farmers through crowd lending. So yung mga farmers po na previously walang access sa financing, now through Cropital, they can access loans from anyone. And aside from that, Cropital also help farmers increase income. So we try to leverage on the financing that is already in place with our generous lender supporters by pushing on other support such as input supplies, agricultural technologies and trainings, insurances, and technical partners. So to date, actually we've reached already more than 1,500 smallholder farmers, rice farmers in particular, and we've helped them somehow save mula dun sa mas mataas nilang interest before to a way lower interest rate that they are getting it now. And we've expanded somehow yung support through the indirect beneficiaries like families and laborers as well. So for us, it's really important yung stories talaga directly from the ground. One of the farmers shared to us that prior to Cropital coming into their community in Bubulong, Munti, in San Ildefonso, Bulacan, he mentioned that he was able to actually get lang yung loans from a 10% interest lender. So, ang ginagawa niya is nagtitipid siya on how much yung ibaborrow on that end. And technically, ang nagsasacrifice is how much fertilizer yung gagamitin, yung quality of inputs na gagamitin, and ending up with not so optimal harvest. And through the financing support and other technical support that we were able to pull in together, he mentioned that after the program, he was able to double yung kanyang income. And this is the story that we want to replicate kasi we want very concrete development and changes po pagdating dun sa mga farmers natin. So, how does it work? So, in the crowd lending platform, yung mga lenders natin, these are individual. And yung most of the lenders that we have been getting until today are, yung mission is one of the main driver kung bakit sila nag-lend sa platform. But aside from the mission of supporting the farmers, the lender also get around 3.5% of interest, of net interest return kapag nakapagbayad na po yung farmer in one season, which is, as we know, around 4 to 6 months, depending on which point tayo nag-finance ng farmer. And on the side of the farmer naman, yung value that we are able to provide is access dun sa higher quality seeds and inputs, processing of their insurances, and receiving technical support. So again, PhilRice has been a really supportive partner to Cropital since 2016. And yun po, we don't claim expertise pagdating sa technology. We really, on our end, try our best to make sure that there will be efficient channels so that our farmers are able to access the right experts. So, quite recently also, very interestingly, with the boom of e-commerce as well, Cropital was able to establish na din our Cropital store. Okay, so what is this Cropital store? So before kasi, yung farmer groups natin, we connect them directly to institutional buyers. Pero palay selling kasi for the past 2 to 3 years have been medyo difficult. Given nga na medyo naging mas mahal yung or rather mas naging mas mababa yung bentahan ng palay. The higher value now is the bigas or yung tinatawag natin na yung mismong nasa consumer market na. So what we did during the pandemic, we were able to launch the Cropital store that enabled the groups to actually transact directly. So nakakabili na tayo directly ng bigas from the group. So this is a community-powered store in a way that farmers act as producers, particularly the farmer groups, lalo na yung mga may milling capacity na nabigyan ng government, ganyan, or they are capable of doing. And yung ating lenders, the ones actually funding them, are now turning to become resellers. So we've made the store in such a way that lenders can earn by doing affiliate marketing. So they can earn up to a certain percentage of the sale that they are able to make. And we are also quite happy with the outcome of corporate partnership. Kasi we know that in the Philippines, HR in particular, we use the rice allowance as a way of extending support dun sa ating mga employee, ganyan. And we are, in a way, able to lock HR partnerships so that yung rice allowance, at least when their members receive it, they receive a link na you might want to use your rice allowance in buying directly from the local farmers. So this has enabled us to actually grow the store in a very short span of time. Okay, but again, another initiative naman. So, rather technology. So, behind everything that we are doing, the lending, the selling of the produce of the farmers, this Cropital Value Chain Finance Platform, or VCF, is our back end. This enables us to do everything in one platform, or this is a system. I'll discuss more about it later on, and I can actually link yung briefly a bit of the discussions about yung sa RCM, ganyan, and also other technologies and tools. So, what is VCF? Basically, VCF is our loan management platform that also acts, this is supported by DOST TAPI or have been funded by DOST TAPI. But this also acts as our central farmer database, wherein all the data that we collect in the whole life cycle of the loan of the farmer goes into this system. What makes it very powerful is the analytics capability. With all the data available from every farmer, we are able to create and look at this data and generate reports on productivity, and more importantly, as a financing organization, develop it into credit scores and into risk models that would help us reduce our risk in financing farmers, but at the same time, find the vulnerability points. How can we help them if we cannot finance them yet? So basically, it looks like this. I'll share more about it later on because I believe this that financing organizations have a very, very special role in this, what we call fourth industrial revolution, in enabling our farmers adapt technologies that are already existing. So the team behind Cropital, so basically we are a group of young individuals with background in agriculture, financing, fundraising, and banking technology. And we are also backed and supported by our dear advisors that with background in agribusinesses and also in NGO, particularly in farmer resiliency. And I've been supported by two governments, the Philippines, of course, through the DOST, and of course, the Dubai also through the Expo Live program. So just to continue, I want to focus on one technology, which is the Cropital Value Chain Financing Platform. So what I like about this platform is that it enables us as a lending institution to reduce our risk. It enables us to support farmers by identifying vulnerability points and allow us to actually do something about it. And of course, do something with the support of the groups that have the expertise to do it. So what is this value chain financing platform? So the VCF is a project supported by DOST, which we built, which has 4 particular functions. It enables us to collect data, particularly yung mga people that collects data from us in different loan cycles, from our main office, yung field officer, the farmer leaders have account in the VCF platform, and even our partners, which I will show later. Then this system helps us store this farmer data all together. And this also helps us automate the processing of this farmer data. And at the end of it, be able to analyze what this data is about, and particularly using it for credit risk and in looking into productivity levels. So, number 1, collect. So, here you can see yung different actors in our organization that collect data from the farmer. So why do we collect data? Maybe later I'll discuss. But basically, all these people have accounts in this platform. The community managers, the ones talking and engaging with our farmer groups, the farmer leaders have accounts in this platform. Our main office and even our agri-store partners, they also have access to this. And next is store. So, what data ba are we storing and how are we able to store it? So, basically for those who have been with us na before, credit history is already there. So, we have credit data of a farmer. But for those new applications, basically we are able to collect data using the application form, and we also have due diligence process, which is done by almost all financing organizations, which is basically through this data collection points, we are able to record crop profile, finance profile, social, and farm profile of a specific farmer. And we also match them with external data sets. So what are these external data sets? Basically, weather forecast, price trend. So these are the data that are made available through the BAS or the PSA. Or yung mga reports ni PhilRice actually. Yung mga trends ng price ng inputs like yung sa mga fertilizer, ganyan. Those things we use also. Then, upon disbursement or releasing of the money or the loan through our agri-inputs partner, for those na agri-inputs ang way of receiving it, we are able to record also ano bang inputs yung ginamit or gagamitin ni farmer in this season. And throughout the mid-season, we do calls kasi sa farmers or check-ins to know na parang yun, nakatanim ba talaga sila, may sakit ba. So at any point in time, we could easily find a way to support them and help them mitigate yung risk that are being imposed. And we also use external data sets like yung mga weather updates from Pag-asa, and sometimes we also do satellite images, pero more of medyo manual namin siya ginagamit. But basically, important kasi sa amin tong check-ins, yung evaluation, yung weather, kasi we have lenders that we report to. So we need to report, or ano bang nangyayari dun sa sinuport ko na farmer. So we report kapag may bagyong dadating or kapag may, let's say, nagkaroon siya ng issue that could actually affect yung repayment behavior niya. And ultimately, we also connect them with the market, and every time na yun, kapag magbabayad na, we try to collect as much data also about dun sa harvest nila and how was it. And syempre, we collect kung nagbayad ba sila. We collect that data kung nakabayad ba sila, na late, or siya lang ba yung binayad, or anong excuse yung ginamit this time. But basically, this data are being collected into one system, and we are able to utilize this data in various ways. Right now, we are still at the very early stage in the sense na 2019, we received the grant, but we are already using the data very, very heavily on the credit risk side of things. So the next one using the VCF is processing of data. So in our case, we are able to just pull in the data that we need from that VCF platform to our crowdfunding platform at ease. So medyo madaling mag-migrate lang, ganyan. Then, okay, nandito na sila sa platform natin. And I believe it would be the same if the system is being used by someone else who process loan for other organizations. Then, next naman is we are using the data to process insurance. So, one thing about data is that same set naman kasi yung data na hinahanap sa loans, sa insurance, and even later on yung sa RCM actually. So what we did is from the VCF platform, we also built an insurance processing platform. Now this insurance platform is also used by other cooperatives, but basically we pull in the data, put it here, and automate forms na kailangan ni PCIC para hindi na kami magsusulat or mas mabilis na. It's the same data basically about the lot, about the harvest, the sowing date, so on and so forth. And right now, we are in the process of working with Erie and Philrice, of course, in integrating na yung sa fertilizer recommendation. But again, given the pandemic, nagkaroon lang po ng adjustment. But thank you so much pa rin, Dr. Detoon, for inviting me in this particular talk. But basically, our mindset kasi is, those data are already being collected and are being gathered for this and this purpose. Why not gather it also for the same one and using the same parang single point of collection na lang? So through Erie, through partnership with Erie, this is the next step that we are looking into, how we could utilize the VCF and how we could push further integration and ease of use of the various technologies that are already existing. And of course, on the side of analyze, basically using machine learning in analyzing the data so we could create categorization or risk profiling. So we could tag kung high risk, low risk, and we could use it in identifying loan limits on the side ng mga farmers natin. And definitely every season we do model calibration kasi we know, yun nga po, data actually tells us kung paano natin gagawin yung risk categorization and so on. And medyo last na, but basically since we are able to track the different performances of their lots season per season, dahil kailangan po sa crop insurance laging isubmit, and it's also part of the forms, then we believe it's quite easy if we work together lang or put the data in together lang as long as it's properly put in place to understand the trends given this particular data sets that we are already collecting. And throughout, we can generate different rankings ba, sino ba yung pinakamagagaling nating farmers, sino ba yung pinaka naglalag, sino ba yung pinakamagagaling na groups, and so on and so forth. And learn from that and try to adapt it. So, in an essence, basically, we see financing institutions, at least given the tools that are made available today, as enablers also of in enabling yung tinatawag na agricultural value chain. Kasi since I believe yung mga financing kasi kami yung pinakatutok sa farmers or one of the pinakatutok. Kasi kapag hindi kumita yung mga farmers, hindi mababayaran. And I think yun yung signal lagi eh. Especially kapag merong areas na parang, clustered yung default, it's a signal na there's a problem that must be addressed. Not necessarily it's a signal na, masasama yung ugali ng tao dito, hindi nagbabayad yung mga tao dyan. I think we need to shift yung mindset na looking at those defaults or delinquencies na tinatawag natin as really triggers na parang there's something wrong here that we need to address. And look at those as clues for us to identify what proper intervention, what proper technology can we actually apply and adapt so that the group will be able to recover and become more resilient. So actually, that's it po for my presentation. And thank you so much again for your time in listening. And I'm pretty open naman po for questions in the forum. Okay. Yun lang po. Thank you so much.
Thank you well for this very inspiring and amazing vision of social entrepreneurship. Indeed, our talks this afternoon, our presentations have come into a full circle because earlier Dr. Jasper Talyada was just saying na what would be the role of the young people in assuring technologies or assuring agricultural continuity and sustainability. And we have a bright light of answer in the person of Mr. Ruel Amparo. Again, at his young age, indeed, this is truly amazing. Now we are open for questions. Can I ask the first question? Because Cropitol is kind of a, how should I say, customized for rice. How would you see it being retrofitable to other crops?
Okay, sige po. So, actually, we've started another initiative. I'm not sure if, can you allow me to present something very, very brief lang?
Sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'll share my screen. Quickly lang po. Oh, I closed it. Okay, sorry. Sige, I'll briefly explain na lang. So, basically, we have started looking into other value chains. So, how are we doing that? So, we're working with a business consortium for agri called PICAFI, or Philippine Chamber for Agriculture and Food. And we've worked with them to develop a market matching app. So, we have been working with them along with Department of Agriculture, Agribusinesses and Marketing Group, in order for us to match the institutional buyers with the farmer groups. And so far, we have reached actually, nasa 150 farmer groups and cooperatives, or 30,000 farmers. And we have right now almost 100 exporters, institutional buyers or processors, and e-commerce platforms in the system. And slowly, we are able to see na that there are engagements, accreditations, fulfillments that are happening. So, linking to the financing part, right now, we are very much observing kasi financing po is very, very sensitive in the sense na risk is always there, and we need to actually have a very sustainable way or approach in order to be successful in financing a certain value chain. So, right now, we are looking at specific crops na, and we are looking at, yun nga po, yung mga market-ready na products talaga in order to support. So, yun po yung medyo next steps that we are looking into right now po.
Thank you, Mr. Ruel. Now, again, we are open for questions. Are there any more questions? Just some comments from our chat box from Mr. J. Baltazar. Great move to support local farmers financially. Kalimitan ito ang challenge ng mga farmers, funding. Okay, here's a question from Mr. John De Leon. Sir Ruel, do you have any plans to connecting our OFWs into your platform? Probably as potential lenders and investors.
Okay po. So, in terms of OFWs po, actually we've been publicizing locally, or at least within our network. Pero we are just fortunate din that the words reach din po yung ating some of our OFWs. And in terms of actively reaching po siguro yung OFW, sa ngayon hindi pa kami ganun ka focused on the side of acquiring lenders in the platform. Pero definitely, once we get to that part, OFWs are very much ideal in terms of funding and supporting. Especially po if there are communities, let's say provinces where they came from, na gusto po talaga nilang i-support. But for now, we're very focused po muna on finding the right farmers, finding the right risk protections, and the right assistance po from dun sa ating mga farmers po.
Wow. Mr. J. Baltazar is watching from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Question from our NUAL President, Dr. Cynthia Saloma. What are your plans to expand your operations, Mr. Ruel?
Okay po. So, Sa ngayon po, we've been slowly growing with the help of our partners. So most of our partners in expanding the group are actually, yung iba po are uh, parang contract growers ng rice that we work with and engage with. And right now, we start to integrate our service na sa mga agri-stores po. So parang yung mga farmers natin na walang group in particular, they could actually go to the store and similar to what other home credit or like a credit card, they could actually find way to actually access a loan. And siguro on the side naman po on a higher level perspective, na scale. Right now, we are driven by partners na we are able to work with. So with the help po or the support of the new groups that have been provided with to us by PhilRice and also with the project po with IRI, we will slowly grow po through those channels din.
Okay, thank you, Ruel. Are there any more questions? We still have some time. Ako may question uli. Okay lang ba?
Yes po.
Remember yung greatest risk sa atin kasi sa farming would be yung mga interruptions like yung climate change and all. So how is your system being kind of resilient over these kinds of disruptions or yung mga sudden bagyo and everything, like some kind of insurance? Is there some mechanism in it?
Yes po. So thank you for that question. Actually, it's something that we have been really thinking about even prior to pandemic. And even nung dumating yung pandemic, it's still lumalabas na parang number one na hurdle that we need to solve, even heavier than the pandemic itself. So in terms of the resiliency, how can we make our farmers more resilient? Definitely yung available right now, which is crop insurance by the government, we make sure that we process for them. And if let's say wala sila dun sa RSBSA or dun sa with free insurance, we try our best so that they can be included as we move forward. Then we figure out din kasi yung limitations ng ating Philippine crop insurance by the government. So recently we've been working na din with private insurance companies to actually create a new product naman, tinatawag namin seed insurance. So we're working also with seed companies so that we could try to incorporate yung price ng insurance dun sa price ng seed para hindi, kasi challenge po talaga i-convince yung farmer to buy insurance. So it has to be done in a way na hindi po nila ma-feel. But at the same time naman po, in case those scenarios happen, they will be able to get the benefit. And definitely, a lot of other approaches that we've been working on. There are other guarantee funds that are available and that we have been engaging with na po, particularly being handled naman po by, I believe, DA and Land Bank.
Okay, thank you, Ruel. Sabi ni Ma'am Cynthia Saloma, dapat talaga merong gantong mga mechanisms kasi maraming abusadong loan sharks. So, by having you in the fintech scenario, maiiwasan talaga natin ito. Sorry po, medyo nagkaroon tayo ng konting technical difficulty. Hindi ko nakikita yung ibang mga questions sa chat. Pwede pong pakitype ulit kung meron po kayong mga katanungan. We still have about 7 minutes spare time for question and answer. Again, paalala po sa lahat, yun pong gusto pong makakuha ng Certificate of Participation, yun pong ating evaluation form ay accessible po dun po sa upper right nung screen. I-click nyo lang po yun, mada-download po yung form or i-divert po kayo sa bagong link para po magkaroon ng online answering mechanism. Okay po, from Mr. John De Leon, I think this is comment. For rice farmers, the months of September to October harvest season have been historically full of challenges. Perhaps this is one area you can make your platform resilient and responsive. Okay, another question from Dr. Cynthia Saloma. By the way, how about loans for market vendors? Are you considering?
Yung right now po, we're very focused pa po on the production side po muna. So, we haven't really designed a product pa po for market vendors.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I guess if there would be no more questions, we can move forward to the awarding of the Certificate of Appreciation. Again, reading the citation, Nagoya University Alumni Association Philippine Branch presents this Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Ruel T. Amparo in grateful recognition for his invaluable contribution as speaker during the Newell PH webinar series with the theme Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of fourth industrial revolution, hosted by the Philippine Rice Research Institute, Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, Philippines on 11 December 2020. Signed, Chair Organizing Committee Rodmir F. Datun, and Newell PH President Dr. Cynthia Saloma. Yes. Again, congratulations, Mr. Welty Amparo, for your inspirational.
Thank you po.
Okay, salamat po. Ngayon, bago po natin tawagin ang ating closing remarks, sumegway po muna tayo. On behalf of Newell PH, malaki po ang aming pasasalamat sa grupo pong ito. I guess let's also proceed this with the Certificate of Appreciation awarding to the institution that help us run through today's presentations in terms of the technical support in this platform, the Webinar Jam. The Nagoya University Alumni Association Philippine Branch presents this Certificate of Appreciation to the Philippine Rice Research Institute in grateful recognition for their invaluable contribution as host institution during the Newell PH webinar series with the theme Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of fourth industrial revolution held at the Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, Philippines on 11 December 2020. Signed, Chair Organizing Committee Dr. Rodmir F. Datun and Newell PH President Dr. Cynthia P. Saloma. Again, syempre kailangan pangalanan natin yung mga tao behind the scenes running this webinar jam. First and foremost, our senpai, Dr. Ruel Arsoralta, Career Scientist of Phil Rice. Hello? Ang aming mga kasamahan dyan, sila Miss Evie Parac Angeles. Siya po yung nag-coordinate ng mga designs po ng ating boards. Sila doctors, husband riding in tandem, Dr. Jonathan and Jennifer Niones, si Dr. Ray Ordonio, and ang pinakabago po, si Dr. Nona, Dr. Nona, pasensya na po, nakalimutan ko yung surname.
Lucob Agustin.
Agustin? Tama po ba? Sorry po. Again, a big round of applause to our Phil Rice team, technical team. And now, to give our closing remarks and synthesis of today's event, may I now call on Dr. Ruel Arsoralta, Career Scientist, Philippine Rice Research Institute. Uh, yes, just to provide some backgrounder to our senpai. Dr. Ruel R. Suralta finished his PhD in Agricultural Sciences from the Nagoya University, Japan in 2008. He is currently the Chief Science Research Specialist at the Philippine Rice Research Institute and the holder of a Career Scientist Rank 2 under the Civil Service Commission DOST Scientific Career System. He is also the designated director of the DA Crop Biotechnology Center at PhilRice. He is deeply involved in crop root plasticity research under abiotically stressed production environments. His breakthroughs and pioneering initiatives in crop production research on climate change affected areas are crucial in the shaping the future of crop production in the country. As a respected and multi-awarded root scientist, locally and internationally, he has more than 50 scientific paper publications cited in various citations in the Scopus, in the ISI peer-reviewed journal systems. Again, it is my pride to introduce Dr. Ruel R. Suralta. You're well.
Thank you. But before I proceed with the synthesis and the closing remarks, let me also present a certificate of appreciation to you, Dr. Neil Tangana, for your grateful recognition, for your invaluable contribution as moderator during the Noel PH webinar series with the team Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of fourth industrial revolution, hosted at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, Philippines on December 11, 2020. Signed, Dr. Rodmir Ip Datuon, Chair, Organizing Committee, and Dr. Cynthia P. Saluma, President, Noel PH.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so good day, everyone. So as they said, with any other activity, we finally reach a conclusion, particularly for this webinar. Firstly, I would like to congratulate everyone for the success of this first ever webinar conducted by the Nagoya University Alumni Association Philippines, or the NOAL-PH, especially its board of directors and officers, led by its president, Dr. Cynthia Saloma. The main theme of this year's webinar, which is hosted by PhilRice, NOAL-PH, and UP Los Baños, is Getting Smarter Under Fire, a webinar on agriculture in the age of the fourth industrial revolution. Truly, technological breakthroughs and the interplay of a number of fields, including advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, neurotech, data analytics, blockchain, cloud technology, biotechnology, Internet of Things, and others have ushered us in the fourth industrial revolution. As Dr. Saloma highlighted in her opening remarks, this year's theme is very timely as modern agriculture is increasingly using data-driven decision support to manage and implement interventions in our farming system. In the keynote address of Dr. John De Leon of PhilRice, he challenged us to ensure that fire eventually benefits for the many and to help make the future more inclusive and or evenly distributed. Cooperation can be summed up as quote-unquote shared intentionality to act as together towards a common goal. The extent to which all the potential benefits should be realized from these technologies depends on the country's ability to overcome its capacity to aptly adapt to the global disruptions that are expected to come along with the fire. This morning, there were two presentations moderated by Dr. Ron Villog. In Dr. Glenn Gregorio's talk, he emphasized the need to have a paradigm shift in ways we do business in the agriculture sector towards a better, bigger, smarter outcomes and impact on agriculture industry and its stakeholders. Agricultural transformation starts with the acceptance that old ways are no longer beneficial to farmers and that they need to adopt a new concept of agriculture, that is the Agriculture 4.0. CIRCA, the center he leads, plan to pursue this by delivering better services through more valuable services to even more beneficiaries in more effective and efficient ways through 4 distinct mechanisms. One is through the graduate research with an industry partner. Second is call for research proposal based on industry need. Third is engaging the industry and the youth in promoting agriculture and rural development. And lastly, the academic industry government interconnectivity. In the next talk, Dr. Mario Agoho, he gave us a perspective on the country's current situation that might hinder our dream of realizing the promises of Agriculture 4.0. He had emphasized that the country's state of technological progress remains in the infancy stage, and that its current level either affected by the country's development and technological advancement. Oligopoly, rent-seeking attitude, and bureaucratic inefficiency and malinvestment characterize the country's current state of technological progress. So he emphasized that the government should play an important role as good gardener of fire, transforming Philippine society in general and Philippine agriculture in particular is a considerable challenge. He called for all Filipino scientists and people in the academe to influence our policymakers to make science and data-driven decisions. He also added that innovation in agriculture must be incentivized so as to encourage our Filipino farmers to innovate and embrace technology. We must also engage the youth, inspiring the young ones and exposing them to science, conduct of research, and generation of technologies. In the second part of the session, this afternoon, there were 3 presentations moderated by Dr. Neil Tangana. Dr. Jasper Talyada of PhilRice emphasized that Agriculture 4.0, known as the precision agriculture, smart agriculture, or digital agriculture, made use of Internet of Things, which complemented by the use of remote sensing, drone technology, field sensors, robotics, and process of automation. Agriculture 4.0 promises greater food security amidst the great concern for challenge to bring its realization in the countryside and integrate proven component technologies into a holistic network system. Dr. Rodmir Daton of UPLB shared with us how we can possibly maximize the potential of various actors to complement the national agricultural extension system in the age of fire. The use of smart agricultural technologies such as the Rice Crop Manager can empower private actors like fertilizer dealers and cooperatives to help provide standardized and science-based information on nutrient management of rice farmers to augment the limited capacity and resources of the government extension agencies. However, to effectively tap these alternative extension actors, he emphasized that strategies for promotion of START technologies must consider the motivations, business models, and organizational objectives of these private actors. And finally, in Mr. Roel Amparo's presentation, he highlighted how the capital utilizes digital platforms and enabling collective action in providing our small holder farmers with a better financing alternative, as well as supporting the needs of small farmers, covering most of the components in the value chain, from production to marketing. Companies and technopreneurs like Cropital, managed by young and dynamic CEOs like Mr. Amparo, truly remind us that the future is bright. So I hope that we have gained knowledge from the different talks and use this information to advance our knowledge related to the fourth industrial revolution. So by now, we are expectedly smarter with fire. Again, thank you to all the webinar's participants and to everyone involved in the planning and holding this event, especially here at the Command Center. We call them the Command Center Warriors here at PhilRise. So I would like to emphasize, give my special thanks to them, to Mr. Michael Baroga and Ms. Edith Ibangitista. So we are truly grateful for your valuable contribution and attendance. Sa ulitin po. So stay safe and healthy. Godspeed. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Okay.
The Philippine Rice Research Institute. For more than 30 years, PhilRice has been developing high-yielding rice varieties and cost-reducing technologies so that farmers can produce enough rice for Filipinos. With a fresh mission to improve the competitiveness of rice farmers and the country's rice industry, PhilRice advances a more profitable, resilient, and sustainable rice environment through responsive, balanced, and environmentally sound research, development, and extension initiatives. PhilRice is a chartered government corporate entity under the Department of Agriculture, with the guidance of its Board of Trustees and the leadership of an executive director, deputies, and management staff. The Institute helps farmers address farming challenges such as changing climate, pests and diseases, low rice yields, rising cost of fossil fuels, and trade liberalization. Headquartered at the Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, the PhilRice Central Experiment Station has strategically branched out to address location-specific concerns in rice production. PhilRice Batak, PhilRice Isabela, PhilRice Los Baños, PhilRice Bicol, PhilRice Negros, PhilRice Agusan, PhilRice Midsayap, PhilRice satellite stations in Mindoro and Samar, and PhilRice's field office in Bukidnon. As guided by its core values, PhilRice also partners with renowned national and international research institutions, the academe, and private and civil society organizations to step up its initiatives and reorient its R4D directions. Envisioning a rice-secure Philippines requires the following: breeding improved varieties, creating strategies for climate change adaptation, easing and reducing the cost of back-breaking farming, improving rice policy environment, and enhancing the well-being of farmers through better knowledge sharing, learning, and marketing. Together with the rice farmers and partners, PhilRice continues leading in rice research for development, blazing new trails, and helping farmers achieve holistic development, attaining and sustaining rice self-sufficiency, reducing poverty and malnutrition, and achieving competitiveness through state-of-the-art rice science and technology.